You might have been Bible bashed before. You might have been, told about this, I'm born again Christian, or you would have, maybe someone you know or family friends that you've seen have come and given you the Bible and Bible bashed you and put you off. But today, remain open, remain teachable. I'm going to just point out a few facts and information, point you in the right direction, and introduce to you God as a loving Father. Okay, let's go back to some more information. So the book of Genesis, here it starts, the great fall. Here's Lucifer, falls from his ranking in heaven. If you look up the definition of fall, it means to basically step down or go down from the level of ranking, of status, level of ranking of status of where you used to be. It's just like your job, for example. If I'm a boss and I find you as my employee doing the wrong thing, and it's going to affect my business, well, my friend, I'm going to have to pull you up and I'm going to have to demote you. Well, that's the same meaning. Demoting and fall, the great fall. Here is Lucifer in the Garden of Eden. And in the Bible, it talks about Adam and Eve having a relationship with the animals. Okay? So here they are. They're naked. They don't have clothes on. They don't have the understanding, or they don't have knowledge about the information of the law of sin and death. God comes every so often and he visits them and he has fellowship with them. He has a relationship with them, just like I would if I was to open up the door to my father and, hey, Dad, would you like a cup of coffee? Well, the same. God used to visit them. There was no sin barrier between them. Okay. So here's Lucifer. He's part of the animals. He's a snake. Okay. He comes guised as a snake. And let me tell you, when he came to Eve, he came to her because he had already connected with her and had already bonded with her and had a relationship with her. This is going to be one of my funny ones. The fruit tree, they say it was an apple, but I say it was a pear because they were the first pair, Adam and Eve. Anyway, so here he is. God had told them, God said to Adam and Eve, listen, it's like this. There's a fruit tree over there that you're not allowed, well, don't go and touch. You're free to go and touch it. But, he says, I'm going to warn you, if you take from that fruit, that tree, then the eyes and the ears of your understanding will be opened up to the law of sin and death. Now, we live on this earth with law-abiding rules. And let me tell you, my friend, today, that there's law-abiding rules in the spirit realm that you need to be aware of. Let me tell you one of them. There's the law of seed time and harvest time. They call that what comes around goes around. Yes. Well, if I sow badness into my job, or if I gossip, or if I do bad things, I'm sowing, and eventually I'm going to reap. If it's not straight away, it'll happen one day. So here's Daddy God coming to Adam and Eve and pointing out the tree, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And then what he does is, like I've been teaching you about your will, it is a force. He gives them the right of way to make a choice. Then he disappears, goes back to heaven or wherever he comes from. And then one day, here comes the snake, the great deceiver. That's what Lucifer's all about. You must understand that. He's not an outright liar. Because if, for example, my little one comes, he's only 10, and he lies to me, I can pick that up because he's not an expert at lying. But see, you've got to understand, he is a great deceiver. He's been doing it from the beginning of time. And it says in the Bible that he came in a snake form, and he came to Eve, and he said to Eve, Eve, did you know that there's nothing wrong with that fruit? Why don't you give it a go? Really? Look at it. It looks great. It's very appetite. It's very, it draws you in. It looks great. It doesn't look like there's any worms going through it. It looks fantastic. Why don't you just go ahead and give it a bite? It's not going to hurt anybody. So Eve She was away from Adam at that point. She had no accountability. Adam wasn't there to say, Eve, you really want to think about this before you take this. Remember what God gave us, the warning about this fruit tree. And instead of having that accountability with Adam, she went ahead and she took her own thoughts into her own account, and she took that fruit and she took a bite of it. Guess what happened, my friend? This was the beginning of what I call the great fall. She then fell from her dominion. She began to, her and Adam, she went ahead and gave Adam a bite as well of this apple and said, Adam, come. This apple that was a no-go zone tastes fantastic. There's really nothing wrong with it. Adam, have a bite. So Adam comes along and he has a bite. And this, my friend, is where we get that terminology, the great fall. What was the great fall defined as? Well, they fell from their ranking. They fell from their status. They fell from their dominion and their authority. When God created man and woman, he said to them, I have given you all authority over the plants and the trees and the animals and the fish of the sea. I have given you the job to manage and oversee what I've created. And so they knew that they were called to manage and to look after and oversee what God had created. So here they are, they take the fruit and they fall from their ranking. That's where we get the great fall. What happened at the great fall? Thank you for asking. The eyes and their ears of their understanding began to open up to their own shame, to their own nakedness. Fear had set in, and they realized that now they are naked. That's right. And the fear had set in, and they began to hurry up and scurry around and look for some leaves and to cover themselves, because here comes God, right smack bang for his cappuccino at 3 o'clock. He came along to have his daily routine with them, his fellowship with them with his cappuccino and his bicky. And as he came to look for them, he said, Adam and Eve, coffee with 1 sugar, please. And at that note, I want you to go get me a coffee with 1 sugar. This is going to be our commercial break. I'll see you in a sec.